I'm Laura Johns, founder and CEO of the Business Growers. We serve managed services providers and IT companies with ROI-driven marketing. Jonathan Mast is the founder of Whitebeard Strategies. His company helps empower businesses and entrepreneurs establish themselves as the leading authority in their niche by answering questions to the exact topics that Google wants you to be able to answer to become the go-to expert in your industry. So we are thrilled to bring you this. The title today is Modernizing Your MSP with AI. Of course, whatever type of business you own, there are so many resources and tools that we can be using, and we're going to be talking through that today, regardless of what your particular business type is. This will apply. I serve managed services providers. I know that Jonathan has a couple of clients that are in the MSP IT industry. So we're going to specifically probably be talking about that for the most part. But again, take these principles and apply them to your business regardless of what your business is. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited that you're here. I feel like you're a bit of an AI celebrity. So thank you for being here today.
You're way too kind. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate the invitation, and hopefully we can just add some value to your audience today.
Absolutely. Well, I have met a number of people in our industry that some have dipped their toe into AI to an extent. Some are not prepared to do that yet. Others are, I would consider, advanced in their use of AI in this industry. So I really want to assume, let's just say for the sake of starting from the very beginning, assume that maybe we haven't done a whole lot in the AI realm as it relates to our businesses, efficiencies in our business, making improvements. So let's just start at the beginning. Where does AI fit? Is there a place for AI among managed services providers and IT companies? Let's just talk about that for a minute and tell me if any business is wanting to improve their efficiency with AI, what does that look like? I know personally, having worked with a lot of clients in this industry, it's really easy to stay head down and stay in the weeds. So how does AI, what are some tips and tools and tricks that you can give us, particularly as it relates to how AI fits in this industry?
Well, great question. And I'm biased, but I absolutely believe that AI can be a great tool to help MSPs really in three key areas. One is to save time, both for the key players as well as their teams. It can make you more productive. And that productivity, that leads to improved margins and better profitability. And the really cool thing about AI, and I believe this from the bottom of my heart, and I've done this with so many clients, Laura, and that's that while you're saving time and making more money, we can actually deliver more value to your clients at the same time. And we all know that, in the MSP market, churn is not something that, is always prevalent, but it's always something we're trying to guard against. And we want to make sure that we're doing our best to make our customers sticky, that they stick around. They're not looking for the greener grass on the other side of the road, because it never is. But we want to, and by delivering more value to them, it's a great way to just set yourself apart from your competition and just truly outshine them in every way so that your customer never even thinks about looking for greener grass.
Yeah. I'd like to get a show of hands. Maybe if you can just leave in the comments right now, if you have already started using AI in your business, just leave a thumbs up in the comments. I'd love to just see the folks that are already using it. Lots of people in the room probably haven't started, many who have, some a little bit in between. So let's just start with communication. We're trying to dip our toes into AI. Have we got some thumbs up in the chat? Yeah, so thumbs up. So some of us have started, yeah. So, okay, so where do we start? What's the first step? If we're trying to figure out where to start with AI, let's just say we've never done it before. Where do we start?
First thing to do is go sign up for an account with ChatGPT. There's a lot of engines out there. There's a lot of different things, and we can talk about all of them. But my recommendation literally to everyone is go sign up for ChatGPT, and don't even debate about paying them the $20. You don't have to do it, but there's so much value. If you're doing this for your business, skip a coffee for a couple days and pay the $20 a month. You get so many more features, especially that from an MSP perspective, that are going to help you out, because we're busy, we're slammed, we don't have time. Like you said, we're heads down in what we're doing. But ChatGPT is going to give us the ability to do all of the major things that we need to do to figure out how to leverage AI. It's the leading large language model, meaning we can talk to it, we can prompt it, we can give it and get advice back from it. And it's huge for that. We can talk about ways to do that. we can use our voice with it. In other words, we literally can talk to it. So while you're head down working on a security issue in a data center at some server rack, literally you can turn your phone on and you can start talking to it and it'll talk back to you. Sometimes like your kids, but normally in a respectful way, and be able to give you information that's relevant. It
Yeah,
also supports vision at that point. And vision through ChatGPT is the ability to take a picture of something. So imagine you're looking at, and guys, I've spent time in IT, but I'm not an IT expert. Let's just say you're looking at a chart and you're trying to figure it out. Take a picture of it and send it to ChatGPT and ask it to tell you what's there and maybe how to make
yeah,
things better.
yeah,
It'll do that.
yeah,
It supports the voice, like I said, the text. It also supports data analysis at that point.
yeah.
And data analysis is massive. When you've got a bunch of data coming in from a network report or security report, and you need to analyze that. We know it's hard to go through pages and pages and pages of data. Now you don't have to. You can literally upload that spreadsheet or that PDF directly into ChatGPT. And now imagine having a conversation with somebody that knows everything in that report, and you just have to ask him and it'll give you their answers just like that.
I
And
love that you
ChatGPT
said
can do
that.
that.
I love that you said assume you're talking to someone who knows everything because it does. It's just the figuring out the prompting. And I think that's what we get the most nervous about. I know our team, we actually are building prompts appropriately for our MSP and IT clients. So we have prompts that we know work better than
Yep.
others, right? To get the best results. I think I mentioned this to you the other day, but I was driving to a doctor's appointment a few days ago and needed to figure out a naming convention for a new set of services for a client.
Yep.
And I just start having that because I'm not going to type while I'm driving, just start literally having a conversation. So I think if we look at it like it's a first date, maybe you're a little nervous. Maybe we've never done AI before. We don't know how to
Yep.
talk to ChatGPT, but let's assume that when we start the conversation that they're an expert in whatever we want to know about, and let's just have an open dialogue like we would on a first date.
Absolutely. One of the things I encourage people to do, that word prompting, it intimidates people and it
Yes.
shouldn't. Prompting, just insert the word texting. We all text our friends,
Yes.
our
Yes.
spouse, our family, and it's really the same way. And just as if you were giving instructions, so I had to give some instructions earlier today to my 16-year-old son. I texted him. Why? Because that's the way to get his attention.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
I did. I texted him. I'm in my office. He's literally across the hall in his doing virtual high school, but I texted him. And I didn't just say, hey, go clean the dishes. I texted him exactly what I wanted done. Why? Because he's 16 years old and he's going to find the fastest way possible to get out of every job I give him. So I gave him details on exactly what I wanted done step by step. And
Yeah.
guess what? He'll then do that. It'll be great. It'll be exactly what I wanted. But if I just said, go take the trash out, there's a possibility the trash wouldn't be in the trash bin. There's a
Yeah.
possibility he'd leave the trash bin and everything in it in the
It
garage
could
and just
get
take
thrown
out
out
the
the
one
window
bag.
since you didn't give him specifics, right? It could just get thrown out the
Exactly.
window.
He
Yeah.
would follow the letter of what I type, but not,
Yeah.
and ChatGPT is going to do the same thing.
Right.
One of the biggest mistakes we make is thinking that ChatGPT can read our mind. If your
Yeah.
spouse can't read your mind, your business partner can't read your mind, neither can ChatGPT. So we need to tell it what we want. And
Yes.
one of the things I really encourage people, Laura, as they're getting started is, we all see these guides for buy my list of 387 prompts for managed services providers. Save your money. Don't buy
Yeah.
those. You're not going to get value out of them.
Yeah.
Don't go out and buy a lot of courses because every course was done at least a week or two ago, if not a year ago, and they're not being updated. Now, if you find a
Right.
course that's getting updated all the time, that may be different,
Right.
but they're not. They're not getting updated. So
Right.
instead, learn a prompt framework. In IT, we follow SOPs,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So learn a prompt framework, and that we have 3 steps, the one we recommend for everybody. The first is tell it how you want it to act. So if I'm looking for data analysis on a report, I'm going to say you're an expert IT systems engineer or something like that. And you have special proficiencies in doing data analysis.
Yeah.
That's it. Now I've told it out of this world of information that AI knows, I need you to
You
come into this
you
little bit
dialed
right
it
here.
in. Right. Yeah.
Now I'm going to say, I'm going to upload this report and I'm going to ask you questions about the report. I want you to respond with the most accurate information you can. So now we've told it who it is and what we want it to do. And then the
Yeah.
third part's the most important, and everybody forgets it, even myself. put it in your clipboard on your computer and put this at the end of your prompts. Ask me any clarifying questions you need in order to give me the best response.
Yes.
And the reason that last part is so important, Laura, is that AI tools, in order not to frustrate us all, have been taught to assume things. In other words, they're
Yes.
taught if you don't give it enough information, fill in the blanks and make assumptions. That's
Right.
also, unfortunately, why a lot of people use AI and they go, well, that was junk because
Right.
they
Right.
didn't have enough information. So
Right.
by basically telling it up front, ask me clarifying questions, ChatGPT will. It'll analyze who it said you were or you wanted it to be, what you want it to do, and then it'll go, I need more information. So you don't have to be the person to remember. It'll now say, Laura, that was great, but I need these 3 bits of information. You can give it to it, and then it gives you a response.
Yeah, I love it. My therapist actually told me one time that it's good practice. Now, this, I hope my spouse is not on today, but it's good practice to ask your spouse, what do you need from me so that I can get what I need from you? And it's the
Exactly.
same concept. You have to just ask, what do you need from me so that I can get what I'm trying to get out of you? And I think that's, I believe that people who do just dabble in working with Chat GPT and then give up on it is because they're not putting in the time and the effort to be specific. And so you're not getting the results you need. And honestly, I mean, that's to me, a basic principle of business. Same with the team that I work with every day. If I'm not communicating effectively, then the end result is not going to be the quality and up to our standards. And so I think that we need
Exactly.
to think that way with Chat GPT as well. That's awesome.
Well,
Great.
you wouldn't hire a new technician and just turn them loose on your client's major network without giving them a little bit of insight,
Training. Right.
a little
Right.
bit of training, and we have to do the same with ChatGPT.
Right. Right. I love that. So I am going to mention, if you have questions as we go, feel free to drop them in the chat, and then we'll either stop and answer the question at that time, or again, we'll have some time later on to answer questions. I don't want to miss, and we're going to move on to kind of a different topic, so I don't want to miss any questions as it relates to what we've been talking about these last few minutes. But I think for anybody who has started an adventure with ChatGPT, this is really good feedback to make sure that we are at least doing that the right way. I want to move just for a minute into talking about clients. A
Mm,
lot of times we only look at things through the lens of what can this do for our business and what can this do for operational efficiencies for me. But there are lots of use cases where managed services providers and IT companies can leverage AI to improve their communication with their clients. And a lot of times that's when we do keep our heads down in the business, we're putting out fires, we're, fixing an outage, something like that. It's really hard to prioritize client communication and customer satisfaction overall as its own entity because we're so head down in the weeds. So how can AI technologies be utilized to personalize our client interactions and make them feel more human-like, even if it's not, maybe?
great question. I think there are a couple different ways that it allows us. The first I want to point is probably the one that everybody uses multiple times a day. Like you said, we're heads down, we're pushing hard, we're running fast, and a lot of times we should take more than the 12 seconds that we do to write an email in order to respond to a client, but we don't have time. So we just fire off an email and we go, look, they're going to get it. It's fine. It's covered. Instead of doing that, take 12 seconds to fire off the email, but before you press send it over to ChatGPT and say, please proofread and rewrite for improved readability. That's it. Just proofread and rewrite for improved readability. I can't say it.
Yeah.
And you're going to get an email that's probably 300 to 400 times better than what you were going to send.
Yeah.
It took you an extra 5 seconds, but
Yeah.
now you've got something that your client's going to appreciate, because we've all had clients get frustrated because we don't communicate well enough, or despite our efforts, they're not communicating as well as they want. And
Yeah.
that'll make them feel heard. The other thing that I think it's great for is some of the marketing things that just need to happen that we don't do. I think one of the big ones is just sending out a newsletter or posting on social
Yes.
media. These are
Yes.
just basic ways to communicate with clients and to communicate our expertise. And ChatGPT, and when I say that, you could use Bard or Claude or other tools
Yeah.
as well, but ChatGPT allows you that ability to go, I'm a managed IT services provider and I need a post, or I need 3 posts for this week that I can put out that'll help promote what I do without sounding sales oriented. And
Yeah.
guess what? ChatGPT will
See?
give you the ideas. It may not write the whole post, but it'll give you the ideas. You
Right,
have the knowledge, the expertise. Is if I came to you, Laura, and I said, all right, as an IT services professional, give me 3 reasons why I should consider outsourcing my IT. You don't need to be prompted on what to say. You
right,
know that answer,
right,
but you may
right,
not think about the question because in your mind, it's like, well, duh, of course, this is
right,
why we're going to do that. And
right,
so it can be
right.
great. The other is email newsletters. I don't know how many of you do email newsletters. I won't ask for a show because I know they're a pain,
Yeah,
but they're so important because your email list is a way to nurture your clients, to
yeah,
keep them involved. And with marketing automation tools that are available, and if you don't know, talk to Laura about those. She and her
that's
team can
right.
tell you. But you can create amazing nurture campaigns that just stay in touch with your clients and remind them, one, that you exist,
Yep,
and two, that you care.
yep,
And by focusing on that, we can turn something that used to be long and arduous, and therefore it meant we never did it,
right.
into something now that gets done. And then again, that increases that customer satisfaction, increases our lifetime value with the clients, because
Yep,
guess what? Satisfied customers spend more money, and
yep,
satisfied customers buy more upsells.
that's
So
right.
it's a great well, three, I guess: social media, drip campaigns, email automations, and just email in general. I
Yeah.
think are 3 ways that every MSP can likely utilize AI, probably yet today before the end of the day.
Absolutely. And I'll add to that. Our team is really geeking out right now just on the power of AI for search engine optimization.
Yes.
Obviously, we're using a combination of different tools, but when you really see significant, you know, acceleration is when you're able to take keywords that we research and we know, okay, in this market, these are the keywords you need to rank for, taking those keywords and letting ChatGPT, Bard, we use a combination of a few things. We have some
Yep.
secret sauce to our method for sure, but being able to understand what Google thinks and how Google thinks, so that we can produce the best content based on what we want to rank for. That's been again, we've been really excited about what we've been able to produce. Again, we were doing it anyway. Now we're able to do it still with human touch and people involved, but do it so much faster and deliver really fast results for our clients, which has been exciting to see.
Well, and that's been exciting to see the way you've brought that into your agency. And again, the same thing we're talking about for MSPs. It's saving time, it's improving margins, but you're delivering more value at the same
Right,
time. And
right,
that's what the clients care about. Clients aren't
right,
worried if you make a little more money than you made last month, as long as they feel they got more value for it.
right,
And
right.
these tools allow you to do that because they amplify your expertise. Laura, if we gave that same prompt series that you do to, my 16-year-old who doesn't know
Yep.
marketing, he wouldn't be able to figure out how to optimize an article or write SEO content or do SEO
Right,
well with that.
right.
But your team already
Put
has
it in
the
the right
expertise,
hands.
so
Yeah,
it amplifies that. And the same for an MSP, it can amplify those existing skills.
what they're
You have
already doing.
somebody writing you an email that wants to understand something about cybersecurity, and you don't have the time to give them a great answer. So
Right,
instead of giving them a great answer, do what I do: grab your phone. When you open ChatGPT, there's a little microphone at the bottom. Press it and say your answer into it. And then when it's done, part of your answer is, write this for me so I can respond to this client.
yep,
You can put your phone down, you can go back to your computer, and then 5 minutes later, not that it took ChatGPT that long, but you don't have to wait for 30 seconds.
right,
You can
right,
go back and go, yep, that's good. And now you can copy and paste that in, take
right.
a few seconds to review it, and send it out.
Right. And I love that you were just talking about communication with client through email, because again, when we're head down, we miss that the importance of communicating, letting the clients know that we care, just constant, ongoing touch in some way through email marketing and communication, just staying in front. A lot of people say email's dead. I don't want to hear it, because to me, we're able to monitor how many, you may not be getting booked meetings, but you're getting clicks, you're getting activity, you're getting response.
Absolutely.
And that is meaningful. And if you're able to communicate with your clients in a short period of time by utilizing these tools, you may never really know the value of, how it might be strengthening that lifetime value, or how it might be strengthening that client relationship. But I can guarantee that it's really powerful. So I love just the thought of using it more. When you think about client communication with AI, you just think about like a chatbot. There's so much
Yeah,
more than just a chatbot. I mean, of
so
course,
much
that's a good
more.
one too, but there's so much more than a chatbot. So
Well, and if
Um,
I can, Laura, I'd like to reiterate real
yeah,
quick, and if not, you just made something that's really important, and for marketing in general, everybody assumes that if they don't get a response on their content, that it didn't have any value.
right,
And I want to just tell you from personal experience alone, I have closed so much business from people that after I met them said, "Oh, I've been getting your emails. I've been watching your videos. I've seen your posts. Oh, by the way, I've never commented on one. I've never even liked one.
right,
But I built that know, like, and trust. People buy
right.
from people they know, like, and trust. And you as an MSP can build that trust with people. Let's face it, if you can be the second person on every business's list in town, sooner or later, whoever they're working with is going to tick them off and they're going to be looking for the next available MSP. And if it's you, you get that call first. So
Yeah,
don't worry about all of your engagement on social media. Is it important? Yes, but don't obsess about it. If you
yeah.
put the content out there consistently, you will absolutely reap massive rewards.
Yes, I love that. I think that's very important to note. A lot of times when I'm just consulting with my clients, I talk about, and this is the same thing for MSPs and IT companies with their clients. You're starting when you're going from cold. Now, a lot of MSPs and IT companies build their, and I'd love to know how many. Great question for the group. How many organizations represented here today, and do just a hand raise in the chat, have built their business off of referrals?
I'm
Want to see
betting
some
most of
hand
them.
raises?
I see hands going up.
Yeah,
Yep.
build your business off of referrals. So at some point, you come to a crossroads where you have to figure out, okay, the referrals will dry up at some point, or you decide maybe they don't dry up completely, but you decide you want to take your business to the next level, and that isn't always where the referrals can get you along, right? So
Correct.
strategically, you have got to build relationships from freezing cold. You got to start at the very beginning. And if again, going back to that first date, if I'm on a first date, we don't get married on a first date. There's a reason for that. Some people might, but we don't. Maybe if you're in Vegas, I don't know. But you have to build a relationship and you have to use tools to do that with your customers, like these tools that you've been talking about, Jonathan.
Yes.
And just one phone call that's cold or one email is not going to do the trick. It's a relationship that you're building. It's trust that you're building. I've been a very avid follower of yours for quite some time. I'm so glad that we've been able to start building a relationship. But it's really hearing from you does build just significant trust, and being in front of your customer at all times is something that we can do relatively much easier today than we could 10 years ago,
Oh,
especially
absolutely.
utilizing these tools. So why not take advantage? I did, a few people I've heard have come into the room. So I just want to make sure we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about ChatGPT. We've talked about client communication. As you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We're going to move on to operational efficiencies and talk about that a little bit. But if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in. We'll save time at the end for questions. Would love to hear from you guys. I want to talk about how you mentioned briefly earlier about taking something, if you want to analyze data or do something a little
Hmm.
bit more complex, maybe statistics. I know that white papers are huge in our industries, obviously case studies, spreadsheets, things like that. Can we talk about just how to get from point A to point B for data analysis?
100%.
Can you dig a little deeper into that and what that might look like?
Yeah, no, and there's so much potential here. Essentially, with data analysis, any type of data that we can get and put in place into ChatGPT, it can analyze. And the example I like to give is, imagine again, you are able to carry on a conversation with that data directly. You don't have to understand all of the intricacies, but you can carry on a conversation and you can ask it questions. So if you're trying to figure out, and again, maybe this is easy, I'm not an IT pro, so if I miss it, I apologize. But if you're trying to figure out where there's an overutilization of a resource,
Yeah.
and that information is in
Yep.
the report, instead of having to dig through 17 pages and try to figure out where the numbers are, you can just upload that report and you can ask ChatGPT, tell me which days and times we had a spike in utilization, tell me which days, was there a pattern. And that's, I guess, where it gets exciting. You can look at the report and go, yeah, it was on Wednesday, we noticed, but then go, was there a pattern? Was
Mm,
there something we didn't see? And how are these correlated? One of my favorite stories, it's not related directly to MSPs, but in the study of diabetes recently, they just fed ChatGPT and AI models literally like 40 or 50 years worth of research. And they said, please reanalyze this and identify connections that we may have missed. And they
Wow.
came up with literally new ways to treat diabetes that are in testing right now as we say this, not of because ChatGPT did the research, but because ChatGPT was able to analyze the research and draw some conclusions that then the scientists and doctors were able to look at and go, oh, we missed that.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
you're going to get that same thing with your IT reports because, again, if you tell it you're an expert network engineer, I need you to analyze this within that context. It's going to have that capability to do that. And again, it's going to draw some correlations if you ask it to that can help you appear to be absolutely brilliant and on top of things with your
Love it.
clients, even if you've only got a couple minutes.
I was going to say, it sounds like it can help you fill in the gaps where you may not have team members in this particular role, and you need expertise from someone in a role that may not be what your area of expertise is. Let it perform as if it's that team member.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it can do that so effectively in so many different ways. So I do think operationally that's great. Another one that I love to talk about is standard operating procedures.
Oh,
You've got ways in which your team members are supposed to be interacting with your client networks and your client equipment and all that. And a lot of times we pass that knowledge down and maybe there's a checklist that they have, maybe they use it, maybe they don't, maybe it gets updated, oftentimes it doesn't. With ChatGPT, you can house that document there and you can ask ChatGPT to improve it. It already knows a lot about network engineering, not maybe as
yeah.
much as you do, but it knows a lot. So
Yeah.
even if you're trying to say, all right, we have a new engineer coming on or a new technician, and here's our process. I'm good with just
Yeah.
bullet lists. So I may give it a bullet list and say, turn this into a checklist that my team can now use. And again, take a quick look at it before you publish it,
Right.
but
Right.
it will turn what now takes you a couple of minutes to put in place into an actionable item that gives you a real resource that now your team can utilize and make sure they're following things. So
Yeah.
there's so many uses like that that ChatGPT is available to do. Once you start using it, I think you'll uncover lots of ways
Yes.
to use it in those ways.
And I think that's critical because a lot of these, a lot of MSPs and IT companies run really lean. I mean, we don't necessarily always have teams of 40, 50, 60, or 100 people.
Exactly.
Sometimes we've got a whole lot of clients that are being supported by maybe 4 to 5 or 6 people, less than 10, and that's very normal size for an MSP. So I think that that is where you really need to start thinking as a business owner, where can I plug in some whole, maybe we don't have SOPs yet. We don't, we haven't started this. Maybe we have them all in our brains, but it doesn't always necessarily, and I'm learning this because I'm not great at delegation, but I'm really, really learning that it doesn't always have to be me that is the one
Exactly.
developing these. I can, find the team member that I feel like does this particular task the best, and maybe the most ideal way on our team, and have them utilize a resource like ChatGPT to start the development of those. And that's, to me, one easy way to really get a lot more out of, not just your team, but out of the tools that you have, by taking a team member that has got the ability to communicate it and have them communicate it to ChatGPT, and then now you've got SOPs, which is awesome.
And do we have time for one more tip? Because I've got one more I think would be
Yeah, we
relevant.
have
All
plenty of
right.
time. Go for it.
So another area is, have you ever taken on a client, you've got on their network, you didn't set the network up, and they've got some equipment that you're not entirely familiar with. Maybe their
Right.
network attached storage is a different brand than you're familiar with. You know in general what needs to be done, but you're not sure where's that setting in this menu.
Yeah.
Go to ChatGPT and type in the model number of whatever it is you're using and tell it what you're looking for. And you will be amazed how many times it will tell you far better than the documentation will on
Right.
exactly what to do. I'm
That's
notorious
wonderful.
with this running a business in QuickBooks. I hate QuickBooks, guys. I'm not an accountant. I can never find the menu item I want. I can literally, it's like, why couldn't you put invoicing in a big button at the top? Because that's what I want to use it for.
Right.
They don't. But if I
Right.
go to ChatGPT and I go, how do I get to the invoicing menu to create a new invoice for my client in QuickBooks Online? Guess what? It gives me click here, click
Yeah.
here, click here. And I go, Oh, so it's 3 clicks instead of one, but now I know what they are. Your team members can do the same thing, whether it's a
Yeah.
NAS, whether it's a switch, whether it's a router, whether it's some other piece of equipment, a firewall. Instead of having to go find the documentation online, read through the documentation and try to figure it out, you can do that. The other
Yes.
part, we're talking data analysis. Maybe you find that PDF online for the
Yeah.
documentation for the router that you need, and you're like, crikey, now I got to work through this whole thing. No, just upload it to ChatGPT and say, based upon the documentation, how do I do this? It'll read that PDF for you and tell you. Now your technicians just saved tons of time. No more excuses, by the way, for people going, yeah, it took me an extra hour because I had to download the documentation and I had to read through it and I wasn't sure because that's a different brand of router or switch than we normally use. No, now tell them, download it, upload it to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to read it for you and give you the answer.
So maybe it would all serve us better. I will say, I would venture to say that you probably, let's say out of 10 times that you're looking for the answer to something, how often do you go to Google versus ChatGPT?
I rarely, if ever, use Google any longer.
Right, right. So
Rarely, if
you
ever.
were able to get everything you need. And I think this is the transition. I don't know if it's a generational thing, maybe it's just a learning curve for all of us, but transitioning our brains and the way that our teams work to think about ChatGPT as a resource for knowledge versus Google, because you're going to still have to do the work to find what you're looking for on Google versus you do have to communicate with ChatGPT, but taking a document, like you just said, uploading it, getting what you need out of it. If we could start, dare I say, investing time in that when we're training our teams and teaching them how to work smarter with AI tools versus trying to teach them. I'm not saying that teaching them how to do the work is not important. That's obviously like that comes first, but then teaching them how to do that. If we spent just a short, couple of days investing in that upon the onboarding of a new hire, that to me is giving a gift to your employees, in my opinion. You're giving
100%.
them the ability to think in a way that really is going to shape, I think, the next generation of employees and workers.
Well, and one more tip on that, ChatGPT, we talk about a lot, and there's some other tools, but one that we rarely talk about that in my mind is hugely helpful for things like this is called perplexity.ai. I'm going to share that in the chat so everybody can go to it. It's essentially what I think Google should have done with AI. I won't make any bones about it. I think Google missed the boat on AI.
Yeah,
That's why they renamed Bard to Gemini. It's why it still
yeah,
doesn't work as well. But perplexity.ai is a very simple concept. So when you go to Google, it gives you a list of sites, Laura, just like you were talking about, and you've
yeah,
then got to click each one to figure out which one's
yeah.
relevant. Perplexity does the same thing, except it looks at all of those and it gives you the answer.
Oh, nice.
So imagine going to Google and bad example, but how do I make chocolate chip cookies for tomorrow at the office? And instead of having to look through 7 different recipe sites to figure out what recipe, it's going to do that for you and go, here's the most popular chocolate chip cookie recipe. It'll still give you the sites if you want to go look at them, but it also gives you the answer. And that can
Yeah.
be as the same thing we're talking about. It could be a NAS system, a router, a switch, you name it, a PC. You're trying to figure out how do I reset this to factory defaults? Go ask Perplexity. And it not only will give you the answer, it'll give you a video on YouTube you can watch if you need a step by step.
Love it. What a great tool. So you put that in the chat for everyone. Make
Yep.
sure you take advantage of that. We'll have some more tools to share here in a minute. Again, if you've joined in the last few minutes, we're taking it section by section. We're going to wrap up by talking about thought leadership. We've talked about data analysis. We've talked about using ChatGPT and other tools in client communication. We've talked about where to start. Now we're going to talk about thought leadership. And I will say, if I have one challenge as a marketing service provider for IT companies and managed services providers, it's that a lot of times they're either too busy or don't like to be in front of a camera and are not willing to or don't like to create video content beyond written content. We've already talked about marketing content from a
Yep.
social media standpoint, writing blog posts, SEO related content. How can we utilize AI in content creation for thought leadership to really position? This is your sweet spot, I know, like positioning yourself as a thought leader so that you're gonna, be top of search when someone is searching for your business. How can we leverage AI to increase our our ability to reach more people through thought leadership. And I mean, in my mind, video comes to mind. Obviously, would love to talk about that, but I want to understand how that is something we can utilize AI for, and then how does that tie into generating leads? You just mentioned that you've been able to accelerate your business just by hopping on video every day. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
So video, I know nobody likes it. I want to remind you that when you don't remember, but when you were a baby and learned how to walk, you fell down a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But you didn't stop trying because everybody around you was walking and you desperately wanted to be able to run away from mom. And so you figured it out and you kept falling until you got good at it. And then you laughed with glee when you were able to outrun mom and run around the corner faster than her. And video is the same way. When you start recording video, break it to you, it's going to suck.
Right.
You're going to stink at it.
Right.
But if you don't start by falling down, you can never get good at it.
Right.
The best time for you to start doing video was 2 years ago.
Right.
But if you didn't do it 2 years ago, the next best time is today. And every one of you have something in your pocket or on your desk that can do it for you.
100%.
It's your mobile phone.
Yep.
And what Laura's talking about in my mind, and I'm passionate about this, so Laura, you may have to stop me, but
No,
Google will tell you, if you just do a Google search and search for managed services provider, Google's going to tell you down in the people also ask section what questions people are asking about that topic. You can also go to a site called Answer the Public. There's another one called Ask Socrates. They all do the same thing. You put in a topic and it's going to give you the questions that people ask. Here's the beauty. You don't need AI to answer them. You know the answers, but you can use that tool. And then if you're not sure what to say, again, do it just like this. So I'll try it here live. Let's see if we can make this work, because
I love it.
nobody ever believes me how easy this is. So
I love it.
all right, hang on a minute.
This
Let's
is
see if we can
this is a workshop, not a webinar. So now we have turned into the Modernize Your MSP with AI workshop with Jonathan Mast. Here we go.
Well, and if I could get it to actually do what I want to do on my phone, here we go. I don't know if you can see my screen. It's thinking. All right. So ChatGPT, I want to create a short form Instagram reel style video script just for my voice on how to explain what a network attached storage is. Help me with that. I'm going to turn my volume up.
Absolutely. Let's break it down into something digestible and engaging for an Instagram reel. Imagine you're telling a story to a friend who loves movies, but struggles with storage space on their devices. You with an expression of having a light bulb moment.
Oh, my internet failed.
Or
there we go.
For all your favorite movies and photos. Imagine having a magic box that holds everything for you. Gesture like you're unveiling something amazing. Meet network attached storage, or
I won't finish it, but
I
just
love
like
it.
that.
I love it. That's awesome.
Just like that,
Real time.
we can tell it what we want, and it'll now give us a script. And then if you use a tool, a teleprompter on your phone, I use one called big.vu. You don't have to use that. There's others. You literally, when you hold your phone up, you read it off the screen, and the selfie camera records you doing it, so it looks like you're doing it. And guys, I know, and gals, it may not be perfectly produced, but let me tell you, user-generated content gets so much more interaction than professional.
Yeah.
You can set up in a studio and have everything there, and that's fine. But basic user-generated content rules today.
Yeah.
Be real. It's what's going to appeal to people. It's going to make sense. So go to the people also ask sections. Answer those questions. If you don't want to do it in video, at least type it out in social media posts and go, hey, somebody was asking me this. Do that. But video will absolutely expedite your business. If you're trying to figure out how to bring on new clients, how to outdo your competition, they're not doing video, especially the MSPs. You start doing it and you will absolutely dominate.
And I will say too, for my MSP clients who, if you're the owner and you're not comfortable getting in front of video, obviously, like I'm personally a fan. I like video. I know you said nobody likes it. I kind of do. I think Jonathan, secretly, you kind of do. Like we kind of like.
I do now, but I didn't. I mean, I put it off. I literally looked back the other day. 2018, I had a goal of doing a daily video. 2019, I had a goal of doing a daily video. 2020, we had COVID. I had time and I had a goal of doing a daily video. I didn't start doing daily videos until October 7th of 2022. And I only wish now I'd started back in 2018 because I'd be 4 years ahead.
Yeah. I I think one thing to consider is, let's just say you have a team member, maybe it's your sales team leader, or maybe it's somebody in marketing, or maybe it's somebody else on your team that does, I know I will say in most cases, if they're a little bit younger, they've got that tech savviness too. Sometimes it doesn't always have to be you. You can certainly make cameos. You can show how you are a thought leader, but you can certainly utilize other team members in this effort to really help
100%.
you gain exposure. So don't feel like just because you are, crippled every time you step in front of a camera that that it can't be done. We can certainly find workarounds. So what about
100%.
other, I know that we've used a couple of tools that we love. What are your favorite video tools to use just day to day? I think I'm using the same caption tool on my cell phone.
Yeah, so on my phone, I use a tool called Captions. They didn't have the best name, but it's an amazing piece of software.
Yeah.
On my computer, I use one called Descript. And if you want to that, here's the great thing. Video editing is no fun unless you're one of those people that loves it, and most of us don't.
Right.
And it's also can be hard because you got to look at the timeline, you got to zoom in, you got to zoom out. It's just, it's a learning curve is high. With Descript, you can go to anybody on your team that has time, and if they can edit a Word document, they can edit your video, because it brings up the transcript and you literally go through and copy and paste and move things around by moving the text, and it rearranges the video. It is an amazing tool. So two that I definitely recommend: Captions on your phone and Descript on your computer. They're both amazing. Captions is limited, by the way, to a 5-minute video. That's why I have Descript, because if I'm going to do a longer form one, do that. The other thing I want to add on that is add the captions to your video, because studies show that while the average adult is spending nearly 3 hours a day watching video on this, they're doing it with the sound off. They're probably like me. My wife's watching something on Hallmark Channel, or you're at work or whatever, and turn the captions on so people can read what you're saying. Your engagement will go through the roof.
Yeah, I love that. We use actually, I was going to say, if anyone follows the Business Growers on social media, you'll notice we'll have small clips of this exact webinar that we are in right now. Grace on my team, she takes it, she puts it in Descript, she splits it up and gets great little nuggets out of it in minutes. So great tool. Love it.
We had a great question in the comments. Are we ready to go there?
Yeah, let's go. I was going to say that was kind of our wrap up as far as what we wanted to cover. So yes, feel free. And I actually can't see the questions on my screen. So Jonathan, if you want to read them, Grace,
I can. Yeah,
right here. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, let's go.
So let me encourage you. The great time for questions if you have them thrown in. But Garrett asked a great question here. He asked a couple of them. I'm going to try to handle them in order. But what do I use for organizing my prompts? Because you get so many prompts over time, and it's really difficult to find the way to do that. So 2 tips I have for you. One, I have a separate bookmark that I literally bookmark the prompts I want to go back to. Not all of them do I want to go back to. So I have a tab for that, and I just use it right in my browser. The other thing that I found to be really helpful, and it's a tip I got in my AI group the other day, somebody gave to me, is I went in, and with ChatGPT, you can set up what are called custom instructions. And it basically is 2 answers. Who are you? What do you want it to know about you? And 2, how do you want it to respond? In the how do I want it to respond section, I put in, start every response with a time and date stamp.
Yeah.
That's all. And now when I go back, I generally remember, I was talking to Laura, I was working on this prompt for Laura, and it was on Tuesday, or I can look back and figure that out. Now I can go back and I can really easily find those chats that I did that day.
Yeah.
Guys, I use ChatGPT all the time. I hit limits all the time, but even I can go back and look through a day's worth of chats in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So that I find to be super, super helpful.
Yeah. Love it.
Those 2 I do really. The other thing is, if I've got prompts that I'm going to use regularly, I use Evernote. I'm an old guy, so I know Evernote's old. It's not any of the others, but I put it in Evernote so I can find it just like that, and I can find it when I need it.
Yeah.
The other question he asked was, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I do see the question about resources available for MSPs interested in getting started with AI marketing. If you register for this webinar and don't unsubscribe, then we have your email address. We are going to be developing tools. Now, granted, as soon as you develop something, like you said, the best thing to do is not necessarily develop the specific detailed GPT, but more of a, like you said, a kind of a guideline, or what did you call it? Earlier, you said you have 3 different,
we call it a framework. It's a
templates or framework. So
yeah.
We will certainly be developing that for our MSP clients, and can get those that are subscribed here, that in your hands. So
No, fantastic idea. Another question out there is, what are our thoughts on building a bot with ChatGPT? So I'm not sure exactly what you mean there.
Oh, yeah.
The chat bots in its traditional way, I'll admit I'm not a huge fan of. They're okay. You can put one on your website and they do okay, but they take a lot of work, guys. I'm working on a lead chat bot right now that works to go out and connect with people on LinkedIn and that. There's so much testing involved to make sure it doesn't sound stupid. It's a lot of work. But you may be referring to custom GPTs because you mentioned bubble.io. Custom GPTs are absolutely amazing because they give you the ability to upload proprietary data that you have on your company and your clients, whatever, and tell ChatGPT, use all of the information that you have, but use our information first. So imagine that you've got your customer service team or your help desk team, and they're looking to figure out how do I answer this question about antiviruses? Because you may have a way in which you want that answered. Instead of going through your employee manual or the guidelines that is in the binder that's 4 inches wide that nobody's looking at anymore, you can put this into a custom GPT. And while the client's going, I really need some help with this, they can be typing in that question into the custom GPT. And just like that, it's going to give them the answer that was on page 436 in the third paragraph because it knows it. And all that your employee or help desk person had to do was ask that question and it got it right back. So yes, I highly recommend you look into custom GPTs. Bubble.io, for those who don't know, there's two ways to do a custom GPT. You can either do one within ChatGPT itself, or you can do one as a third-party app, and then you can connect to the API. In a perfect world, and we don't live there, but in a perfect world, I prefer to develop it on a third-party app, even though I'm not a developer, because I then can connect to OpenAI's API, I can connect to Bard's API, I can connect to Claude's API, I can connect to Midjourney. So I can connect to all these different API engines. And in the future, as things change, and they will, when the new player comes on the board that I want to connect to, I can connect to them. I also, and this I think everybody in the IT field can relate, I have much better security. If I have an app that I've managed and that I control, I'm not trusting that my instructions aren't getting leaked out to somebody else or that my company data is not getting leaked because I'm storing that in my application that nobody has access to that I didn't give it. Bubble's a great tool because it's a no code way to do that. Even a marketing guy like me, and I know nothing about programming, can create one using Bubble. So I love custom GPTs.
Thank you for your question. Those were some good questions, Garrett. What
Yeah,
about,
so
so we
what
talked
advice do I
about,
have? Go ahead.
the best way to
Nope.
stay, it looks like we have advice you have for MSPs who want to stay ahead of
Yes.
the curve and leverage AI effectively. That's a good question.
So the thing I want to encourage you here is don't go and invest in courses. Don't go and invest in guides that say, here's 387 prompts that you can use in the MSP business. Guys, I've invested in lots of them, mainly to validate my point that they simply aren't worth it. I've bought dozens and dozens and dozens of courses, and most of them are not worth it. I have one that's great, and the reason it's great is because he updates it every single month. But it's the only one of the courses I've ever bought that gets updated every single month. And therefore, I think it's a great course. Now, the downside is it's money every month in order to do that. So that's a downside. But don't try to learn AI by buying a course that was done 2 months ago or 2 years ago. And I'm going to burst a couple bubbles here, but don't worry about the AI certification programs. The people that are putting them out that have the credibility. In other words, if you're a university and you have the ability to put out a credible program, you're a university, and it means your program was written last summer. And that's totally irrelevant in the AI world. It may be relevant in IT. That may be close enough if it was in the past year, but in AI, that's like looking at what we did when we had DOS on our computers without hard drives, guys. Things are changing that fast. So if you're an educator on here, I apologize, but higher education operates too slow.
We're probably safe.
They operate too slow.
With my crowd.
So yeah, again, that's what I would recommend there. So I have a group that's free if anybody wants to join it. We teach people on prompting. Laura, I don't know if we can give that link or not, but that's
we can you do you have
I'll
the link
find
to
it
that
and put it in
handy,
the
or if we
chat.
can put it, we'll do that, put it in the chat.
Yeah.
I have gotten a lot of great tips from it, so I would love for you to share.
And guys, this group is not, we don't sell anything in here. We don't sell any services. It's just for education. It's got 60,000 people in it, so you get some weird things occasionally, but it's there. There are a lot of other places like that. There are so many great resources, but ultimately, to answer your question, Sarah, on what do you do to stay ahead, start using ChatGPT regularly. Just experiment with it.
Yeah.
Ask it questions. And if you're not sure, this is something everybody forgets, and myself included. How do I do this with ChatGPT? Go ask it. Go
Mhm.
say, I want to do this. How do I do that? Or give me a prompt that will do this for me, and it will do that for you.
I love it. I love
It's
it.
amazing.
I have another quick question. It's not on script, but since we don't have anything else asked, and we have a few more minutes, do you, in terms of hiring, are you seeing the next wave of, are we hiring for AI now? Are we hiring people who are prompt masters? Are we hiring? I mean, are you starting to see that? I know that maybe in in the MSP and IT world, we're not quite there yet, but I know in marketing we certainly are. I'm just interested to hear, like, what are you seeing in terms of the changing of roles in organizations with the adoption of AI?
I don't know if many people are hiring for prompting experience. I'm sure there are some,
Yeah.
but I don't see a lot of that happening. What I do see happening a lot, and what I get a lot of questions about, is what we call a virtual CAIO officer. Instead of just a chief information
Right.
officer, a chief AI officer.
Yeah.
The reality is, much like UMSPs, most of your clients can't afford a full-time CIO. Most
Right.
businesses can't afford a full-time chief AI officer either. But there are a number of businesses out there, I'll raise my hand on part of that as well, that are offering virtual chief AI officers. So
Cool.
for a few hours a week, or you need somebody to come in for a leadership retreat and talk to your team about AI and
Yeah.
understand your business. Those things I'm seeing growing quite a bit, Laura. The
Yeah.
prerequisite I would give to your team there and your viewers: don't hire based on their ability to prompt well, because that
Right.
prompt is going to change over time. If
Right.
you need that, you need to hire somebody that understands your business. It's like if you're going to hire marketing, you
Yeah.
want to hire Laura and her team because they get marketing for MSPs. You don't want to hire somebody that specializes in the home service industry.
Right.
It's
Right.
different.
Right.
Same
Yeah.
thing here. You want to hire somebody that understands your business first. Think of a CIO role. While a CIO probably knows how to do a lot of things technically, and I'm not taking anything away from them, their real skill is how to leverage technology within your business,
Yeah.
and how to understand how to use it within the business to help the business achieve its objectives, not necessarily because they know exactly how to program a switch.
Right. That's
Okay.
good.
And the same thing with a chief AI officer or a virtual chief AI officer. Look for someone that understands business so that they can help you figure out how you leverage that within your business to make the most sense.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
we mentioned earlier, I think it was this one. I apologize. I've actually been on three interviews today, so I'm getting them
Oh, I
confused.
love it. I'm glad
But
we got you for one of them.
I appreciate it very much. One of the things, people are worried, what about it taking jobs? AI is not going to take many jobs away, folks. Here's
Right.
what will happen: people that embrace AI and learn how to use it will take jobs away from people who don't learn how to use it.
That's
It's the
good.
same when the PC came out. I'm old enough to remember those days because I started before the PCs. I earned this white hair. Laura, I know you're not anywhere near old enough for that, but I am. And when PCs came out, there were a lot of people that said, "Well, I'm just not going to use those."
Yeah.
Those people lost their jobs because
I was gonna say, look where
they
that
had
got
to
them.
do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look where that got them.
So
That's good. Well, look, if someone is, I know that everyone here now wants to follow you and stay in touch with you. So can you tell us where to find you if someone's looking to keep up and watch your daily videos? I haven't achieved daily yet. I'm posting about 2 or 3 times a week. But I
well,
aspire
kudos for that.
maybe in
That's a big accomplishment.
2025. Yeah, maybe next year will be my everyday year, but I'm getting there.
You're doing great, and that's helpful. Yeah, if you want to follow me, the easiest way to do it is just go to jonathanmast.com. That's jonathanmast.com/linktree. You'll see connections there to all the resources. I've got free resources there. I've got ways to connect with me, way to book time.
Love
You
it.
can also go to my corporate site, which is Whitebeard Strategies, but that's a lot more to type. My name's easier to remember.
Yeah.
Just go there and connect. You can find me all my social media links there. I spend a lot of time on both LinkedIn and Facebook. You're welcome to connect with me. You're welcome to ask questions. My goal, Laura knows this, I want to add value, and that's how we've grown the business. If I can add value to you, please ask away.
Yes. And in the same token, Grace on my team is going to put in the chat, if all of this sounds amazing, all these marketing tools that he mentioned, but also sound quite overwhelming. This is what we do every day for our clients. So I have the opportunity for anybody who wants to do a growth session to learn how we can move your business forward with marketing. Happy to do that. For those that attended this webinar, she's going to put the link in the chat and you can schedule time with me. I'm so thankful that all of you came today. This has really been, I know that people will enjoy this for months to come. We're going to be able to promote this and send it out to those that registered and our email list. But thank you, Jonathan. You're always a pleasure to get to hang out with. And I hope we can have a part 2 sometime soon.
I would love to. Just let me know. That would be great. So it would be fantastic.
Thanks so much. Thank you for joining, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.